Hey there, I am back with another deck review, and today we're going to be looking at the Oddfellows Madame Laveau from Stockholm 17. Marie Laveau was born in New Orleans in 1801, where she opened up a beauty parlor servicing some of the city's wealthier clientele. But while she was undeniably talented for her hairstyling skills, there's a deeper, mysterious side that kept the socialites coming back. One day, it was a well-to-do woman named Madame Dubois who came in worried about a rival tempting her husband's affections away. She needed the sort of help that only Marie could provide. Marie was already well known around town as a practitioner of voodoo and had built a reputation for mystical powers that defied belief. So on this occasion, she presented Dubois with a small vial of hair tonic, claiming it was imbued with herbs that would reignite the spark of love. Infused with this newfound confidence thanks to the potion, Dubois swept out of the salon to test things out on her husband. Now, whether it was that newfound confidence or some mystical power behind Marie Laveau's concoction, the plan worked flawlessly. Madame Dubois and her husband suddenly found themselves even more in love than ever. There were dozens of stories of the renowned voodoo queen of New Orleans, Madame Laveau, whispered by Dubois and others who came through her shop. And over time, she grew into one of the most legendary characters in the city's lore. And the continuation of this quirky cast of characters that are celebrating the Oddfellows series, Lorenzo of Stockholm 17 has embraced the mystique of Madame Laveau as the first real-life historical brought to life in his decks. So very excited to check this one out. I love the entire Oddfellows series, but can't wait to see what Madame Laveau brings to the table. And there's actually two different versions of the deck we'll take a look at. This is the standard version, although hardly a standard deck. And then we also have the Patreon exclusive edition, limited to just 700. We'll get a chance to look at both of them, but let's start off with the standard edition. All right, beginning with the tuck box, this is a beautiful palette of colors used on this one, starting with that blue-green pearlescent stock for the tuck box, and then continuing with a mixture of bright pink and bright green foils, along with a little bit of white, beautiful embossing, and unique cutouts to really give a dynamicism to the tuck box. Really, really love how this turned out. Definitely a familiar layout for the other Oddfellows decks, but of course, this one features none other than Madame Laveau herself peeking out from behind the crystal ball right there in the front and center. Beautiful, kind of psychotic, crazy look in her eyes there, and love the 3D effect that's achieved with the crystal ball here in the center. It's actually a completely flat sticker, but because of the finish on this one, definitely gives the impression of that mystical crystal ball, complete with the 7 of clubs glowing there in the center. Very, very cool look to the tuck box. Even features the cutouts here that features some of the symbols of magical powers that Madame Laveau may have claimed, including voodoo dolls, chiromancy or palm reading. You get spell casting and divination represented by the tarot cards. And those symbols are actually done on an extra card that you can slide out here, and gives you a little bit of background and story about Madame Laveau and her famed shop on St. Anne Street. Very cool look to this one overall. Love the ad card. And once you pull that ad card out, you'll see it actually reveals part of the back design of the cards instead through those cutouts with the eyeballs going through. Unfortunate little detail in this one, and I guess that's why the card was used instead, but the inner flap of the tuck box actually covers up those holes. A little bit unfortunate, but as long as you use that extra card, it doesn't really get in the way too much. And actually, I think kind of looks a little bit like eyelids or something like that over the eyes there. I don't know, just to me. And then on the sides here, you get some more foiled details with the Oddfellows, as well as Laveau's name and Stockholm 17 mentioned at the bottom. Same thing on the other side, along with some pretty standard ad copy done in foil on the bottom. And then the top has the hash marks, 17 of them for Stockholm 17, and then a couple mysterious symbols. We'll see tons of different symbols as we go through the deck. And then on the back of the tuck box, or I guess this is technically the front of the tuck box, you get the name of the deck, the Oddfellows, and then from New Orleans, where Madame Laveau made her home. Beautiful blind embossing to get that kind of filigree effect on the sides. And then up here at the top, you get a poem that's maybe one of the spells that Madame Laveau might have used. You get tea leaves and transmuted gold, a pinch of Haitian zombie mold, lay and lifelines, swords of 8, tangled by the threads of fate. And then, of course, a voodoo doll right there in the center, another staple of New Orleans lore. All right, as you open up the inner flap here, beautiful pink script with Madame Laveau's name, the Soothsayer. And then you get on the inner flaps here, the Stockholm17 logo and a snake. Madame Laveau was said to actually have a pet snake named Zombie. And so there's the representation of that snake there on the inner flap. Nothing printed on the interior, but you do get a great look at that blue pearlescent stock and the unique cutouts that are used for the tuck box. Overall, a really striking tuck box and a great match with the cards themselves. Speaking of those cards, you may notice as I pulled it out, this is a gilded deck. Even though I called it a standard deck, it actually is gilded in a really unique green color. Beautiful look to it overall. Great match with the tuck box and the foils that are used there. Really, really like how this one turned out. And kind of goes in a really interesting way with that pink that's used as the back design of the cards. Speaking of the back design, here it is. So done in really bright pinks and purples, along with nice hits of gold foil all over the place. Very, very shiny statement piece with the back design of the cards. And again, done in very familiar layout to the rest of the Oddfellows decks, featuring a character here repeated in the center. This one is a voodoo doll going all the way through, complete with a pin right through the heart, and even little tarot cards there in the center. And then the 4 eyeballs in the corner and Oddfellows written at the top. Beautiful look to it overall. And I in particular love the pink border around the edges, which really gives this card a lot of life. So there's your back design. Really, really nicely done. And then you get a couple of extra cards with the deck, starting with the pair of jokers. And each one of these is almost going to be another character, but a little bit of a spell from Madame Laveau's repertoire. And the first one here shows Madame Laveau herself, this time wearing an African tribal mask. And then she even has her pet snake Zombie coiled around her arm there. And you can see her sprinkling some things into the cauldron here. She's actually performing the spell that's mentioned here on the tuck box. So as you look carefully, you'll see some of the tea leaves, the zombie mold or the Haitian zombie mold, and even the 8 of swords. It mentions the swords of 8 was one of the things you needed for the concoction. So you can see her sprinkling those in. And then a little bit about the spell up there and the words at the top. Extra little symbols all over the place. Just a really cool look to this one overall. The other one, this is a bit of a fun, quirky card. This is the spell for avian transmutation. So we get a rooster front and center there, even holding up the 2 of spades, which is one of the items you need to perform the spell. But love the look, the peg leg and the cane in his hand just gives him a unique, distinguished, quirky look to it overall. Love the vibrant colors used on these, the blues and greens for Madame Laveau, and then our avian friend here with the kind of sunburst colors. Very, very cool. And then you get another extra card. This one is a huge cheat sheet and gives you just an idea of how many different symbols and mythologies are represented throughout. So this one's going to have a mixture of things like zodiacs, months of the year, even some of the major arcana from a tarot deck, and then some extra little symbols you see represented over here. So lots to take a look at as we go through this one. But if you ever need a guide to kind of find your way through the deck, you get this extra card in there as well. But let's get to that deck. All right, starting with the Ace of Spades. And the Ace of Spades, complete with gold highlights all the way through, features the large spade pip there celebrating Madame Laveau herself. And it's a really eerie look to it overall, almost giving the impression of her being lit from below with this eerie glow. Madame Laveau, along with her little pot of Haitian mold there, and then her snake Zombie curled up at her side. Zombie here, so Lorenzo didn't actually know what type of snake Zombie was, so he chose a milk snake, which is a snake that can be found in New Orleans, to be represented there. But beautiful look to it overall, the hits of gold all over the place to give you that extra luxury feel to the deck. Overall, I like this card, but as we see as we go through the deck, this one I find a little bit distracting. The shading on this one and the more kind of natural feel to this definitely doesn't fit in quite as well with the rest of the deck, even though it is, I think, a really cool card on its own. But nonetheless, let's get to the rest of the deck. All right, the other 3 aces feature a little bit simpler design, a more classic style pip there. And then in the center, done in gold foil, we have represented some of those powers that that Madame Laveau may have had. So you get chiromancy, palm reading with the hand there in the center, voodoo and spell casting with another really cool looking little symbol there in the club pip, and then divination with the mixture of stars there in the center. Very nice look to it overall. And I love the stylized, almost calligraphy style index there in the corner along with the pip. Very nice, oversized, super easy to read. All right, speaking of oversized, the number cards here all feature super oversized pips, so very large pips as we go through the number cards, and you'll see a whole diversity of symbols on them. And there's actually a theme as we go through, so all the spade pips are going to feature alchemical symbols on each one of the cards. So you can see a whole mixture of them, no two cards alike. And then as we get into the diamonds, we'll see celestial symbols. These are things that you might see in the sky. They almost look like they're constellations of sorts. And then next up are the clubs, and this is a really cool one. These make use of African Nisibidi. Nisibidi was one of the first written languages in the world. It's an ancient language that was used in Africa even before the colonization of the Europeans. So one of the oldest and most distinctive languages, or written languages in the world. Really love the hits of the gold foil those symbols bring. And then next up are the hearts, and these feature astronomical symbols. So we get alchemical, celestial, Nisibidi, and astronomical. Very cool look to them overall. But now we get to the court cards. And the court cards, I think as good as everything is, as cool as everything else is, the court cards truly are the highlight of this deck. And in my opinion, the best court cards that have been done in any of the Oddfellows decks, bar none. All right, so these are just beautifully, and you can see already, beautifully, vibrantly illustrated. All the Oddfellows decks, I think, really do a nice job with courts, but these really bring some extra elements that I think bring these to the next level. First off, you'll see that two-tone background and the mixture of colors as you go card to card. I think just gives it a really unique feel to it overall. The nice hits of gold foil all the way through. And the theme on these is, I think, really, really nicely done. It's a unique blending that mixes together a few different things. You get the zodiac symbols are represented throughout here, as well as some of the major arcana from a classic tarot deck. So, of course, there's 12 court cards, so we are going to get to see all of the 12 zodiac symbols represented. And then for the arcana, he chose 12 of the arcana and kind of made pairings to give them unique looks. So the first one here, just to see what I mean, this is Virgo and the Hermit from tarot decks that are mixed into one. So the character here in the center is, of course, definitely inspired by a hermit. You can see the lonely man with the lantern in his hand. But of course, Virgo makes an appearance in the little picture here that he's peering at. So he's got the lamp held up so that he can see the beautiful woman there in the picture. Very cool look to it. I love the creativity in the blend here. And you'll even see months of the year represented. So you get September represented here underneath the spade pip. Beautiful look to it overall. Again, I love the two-tone on these. The gold foil just all mixes together to give you a really unique looking card. If you ever need to figure out what it is, so in one corner, you'll see Virgo written here, and then in the other corner, the Hermit. So it helps you kind of figure out what each card is. All right, so next up, we have the Queen of Spades representing Libra from the Zodiac and Justice from tarot cards. Of course, the scales, the symbol of Libra, and a classic symbol of Justice. And so nice, easy way to work in both of them here as the character wearing this hat, complete with the scales on it. Very kind of fun, quirky look. Next up is one of the more infamous cards in the deck. This is Scorpio and Death. The Death card, one of the most ominous cards in the entire deck. And so you can see the skeletal figure here, complete with his eyeball popping out. And then if you look closely, you'll be able to find the scorpion here, the two red scorpions there in the center as well. Very cool look to that one. I love that King of Spades. This is the only one that doesn't have the two-tone background. Next up is the Jack of Diamonds. This is Gemini and the Lovers. So you'll see the two of them here. This one actually has a different character on each side. So you see the male character on one side and the female on the other, and they're both playing their instruments, one of them with the guitar, one of them with the lute. And this one's kind of a fun look. If you go in real close on the lute over here, you'll see some stickers on here, including some more modern ones like the AC/DC. There's even a Stockholm17 or a Rolling Stones. It's kind of a cool little mixture of Stockholm17 ephemera, as well as some more modern bands that I think kind of gives this one kind of a fun, quirky look to it. So Queen of Diamonds, this is Leo, symbols the lion, as well as strength. So you can see this lady here drinking a strength potion, and then she has this little emblem representing the lion on each side, so both of them kind of brought together. Here's the King of Diamonds. This is my zodiac symbol, Cancer. Cancer is the crab, so you can see here on the king's crown there, you get a little crab sitting atop of him. And then the chariot is the symbol from Major Arcana, so the wheels here definitely bringing to mind the chariot. All right, then we get to the Jack of Clubs. So as you can see here in the corner, this is Sagittarius, and then this is Temperance. So the pouring water there, definitely a symbol you see on the Temperance card all the time. And then the bow in the back, the archer is the symbol for Sagittarius. Very quirky, almost scared look on his face. Next up is the Queen of Clubs. This is Aquarius, of course, from the flowing water, as well as, you can see on this side, this is the star represented. So the star, pretty simply added on this one, just the adorned star there on her crown. But I love how the water is incorporated on this one. You can see the pouring water from one side becomes the flowing hair of the queen on the other side. Really cool little incorporation of the water into the picture there. And then next up is the King of Clubs. This is probably one of the other more infamous cards from the deck. This is Capricorn and the Devil. Of course, you see the smoking devil there, and the Capricorn represented through the horns there. So the goat is the symbol of Capricorn, and so the horns of the devil become the horns of the goat. Very cool look to this one. This is, to me, just a fantastic card. Those the red skin there against that yellow and blue background just really stands out. I actually have this one on a t-shirt, no less. All right, and then next up, we have Taurus and the Hierophant. This is another really cool card to me, another one of my favorites. You can see the Hierophant there with the almost angry, bored look on his face, but in kind of a fun little quirk. He's got the jack-in-the-box in his hand, complete with this Ole, the bullfighter there. Of course, Taurus's symbol is the bull, so the Hierophant wearing the horned helmet, and of course the bullfighter popping out of the jack-in-the-box. This is one of the funniest cards to me in the book. I love the whimsy of the jack-in-the-box and then that just completely nonplussed expression on his face. Queen of Hearts, this is another one of my favorites in the deck. This one is a beautifully laid out card. This one represents Pisces and the moon. So the Pisces symbol is the fish. So of course she's gripping the fish there in the center and then hefting the moon over her shoulder. Beautiful. Love the layout of this one. Definitely kind of brings to mind, I don't know, to me, I think of some of those like World War II posters, kind of what that pose looks like to me. And then finally comes the King of Hearts. And this one, look on the side here, we get Aries represented on one side and then the Emperor on the other. So in this one, the Emperor sitting atop a ram, the symbol for Aries. Beautiful look to it. Almost looks like a huge Emperor sitting on top of a tiny little ram there. Kind of gives a funny little vibe to this one. Just love that with all the Oddfellows. It's kind of that mixture of quirky, weird vibe to them, but also interesting and vibrant characters as you go through. And that is the court cards. Just absolutely beautifully done. The best court cards in any of the Oddfellows decks. And for me, best court cards make it the best of the Oddfellows decks to date. And that is the deck. So we'll get a quick look here at the second version of the deck. This is the Patreon exclusive version of the deck. Not too many changes on this one, although you do definitely get some color changes. This one uses a purple-pink color to the tuck box here, also done in that pearlescent stock. And then the same color is done for the foiling. For me, this one doesn't work quite as well. I like the darker colors of the blue-green box, just because that pink kind of leaves everything a little bit washed out looking to me. You know, you don't quite get some of that contrast, but still a beautiful deck in its own right. And the two of them just pair together really, really nicely. But overall, there's the tuck box, features that same extra card, same cutouts and all that. And then as you open up the deck, we'll see the only other change in this one is the color of the gilding. So rather than the green gilding, this one gets super bright, vibrant, electric pink gilding. Another really unique color. I don't recall seeing any deck with this color of gilding, and it's a perfect match for the back design of the cards as well. So you get pink gilding on this one. I think just looks fantastic. Now for me, I think prefer the green gilding a little bit over the pink, but I do prefer, and I also prefer the green tuck box over the pink one. So even though this is the more desirable, I guess, version of the deck, for me, the standard version I think is just fine, if not better. But anyway, otherwise, the cards are the same, the back designs and the faces, no differences from the other version of the deck. But wanted to give you guys a chance to see what the limited version of the deck was all about. Other than the colors, the other way you'll know this one's a limited version is the sticker here at the top that mentions this is the Petroleum 700 deck edition. But anyway, that is it. Those are the two decks of Madame Laveau from the Oddfellows. Really beautiful, unique, distinctive deck of cards, and just such a fun and vibrant way to continue the Oddfellows series, which to me has been an absolute home run for Lorenzo. I don't know, not that it's anything new to him. His decks are always some of the best ones out there. But anyway, hope you enjoyed this chance to dig into the life, the mystique, and the mystery of Madame Laveau and explore one of the best decks already this year. Hope you enjoyed this one. Make sure to go check it out on the Stockholm17 site, and consider following along with his Patreon, because I think there's some fantastic stuff that he reveals about his decks and all kinds of stuff that you can find as a member of the Patreon. But anyway, hope you enjoyed this one. Make sure to subscribe for more deck reviews and more unboxings, and let me know what else you want to see, and I'll see you for the next one.